We were in the middle of a loud, cheerful Sunday family dinner when my daughter-in-law, Sarah, suddenly slammed her fork down and stared right at me. "Martha, you owe me $100. Isn't it about time you paid up?" The entire dining room went dead silent. I froze for a second. A few days ago, the plumber came to fix the sink. I saw a $100 bill on the counter and grabbed it to tip the guy. Borrowing money and not paying it back. And are you a __ deadbeat? With so many relatives watching, Sarah's words made me want to dig a hole and crawl into it. My face burned as I reached into my purse and pulled out a $100 bill. She snatched it out of my hand. Instantly, "If you ever dare to get your filthy hands on my money again," she sneered, "don't blame me when things get ugly." A cold chill ran straight down my spine. I shook my head and muttered, "There won't be a next time," and I meant it. Later that night, I packed up the vintage Cartier gold bracelet I had bought for her out of my own pocket and decided to sell it. Then I decided to sell the house they were living in, the house I bought. She wanted to publicly humiliate me over 100 miserable bucks. Fine, I would draw a hard __ line and cut her off permanently. The dining room remained in a deathly silence. Everyone was staring at us in absolute disbelief. To the outside world, we were the picture-perfect American family, a responsible son, a loving daughter-in-law, and two healthy, energetic grandsons that everyone envied. But they never expected my daughter-in-law to be this unhinged, to call her own mother-in-law deadbeat over $100. He was practically stomping on my face with dirty boots. Everything I had sacrificed for their little family was now a sick joke. But Sarah didn't care. She did this on purpose to establish her unshakable dominance in the family hierarchy. Without missing a beat, she switched to a bossy, entitled tone. "Martha, the weekend is coming up. Your two big grandsons want to go to Six Flags. While we're out at the amusement park, make sure you deep clean the house." She crossed her arms. "Oh, and especially the kitchen. I don't know how the hell you cleaned it last time, but I saw cockroaches last night. Do you have any idea how many filthy diseases roaches carry? If my boys catch some kind of __ infection, you are taking full responsibility." Also, she added casually, "Their travel baseball fees are due. Just sell the money directly into my account." Listening to Sarah rattle off her demands, I felt like someone had dumped a bucket of ice water over my head. I was freezing from the inside out. Normally, I would just nod and do exactly what she asked. Ever since Luke and I married her, I gave them everything I had just to make their lives easier. I worried they were too stressed from work whenever my girlfriends invited me to go on cruises or cross-country road trips. I declined, just so I could stay home and babysit her kids. What did I get in return? Moocher deadbeat. I looked at her with dead calm eyes. Your kids' baseball fees. How is that my __ problem? Sarah blinked, completely stunned. This was the first time since she married my son that I had fired back with zero hesitation. My constant patience and submission had slowly convinced her that she was the almighty queen of the house. Absolute unquestionable power. But she got one thing wrong. I only backed down and swallowed my pride because I loved my son and wanted his marriage to work, but her humiliation today completely shattered my heart. Why the hell should I keep bending over backward for an ungrateful __ few? Seconds later, Sarah's face turned bright red with rage. She pointed a manicured finger right at my face. You are their grandmother if you don't pay it. Who will? I let out a harsh laugh. What law states a grandmother is legally obligated to fund her grandkids _ and for hobbies. And by the way, your Pilates membership, your premium Botox, your luxury skincare hauls from today on, none of that is my problem anymore. If you want it, pay for it yourself. Money doesn't just fall out of my ass. Even as stupid as Sarah was, she realized why my attitude did a 180. She knew the day the money stopped flowing, she wouldn't hesitate to toss me out onto the street like garbage. Over the years, I had blown tens of thousands of dollars on her. Do you think staying that skinny and having flawless skin after 2 kids is cheap? It costs a fortune, and I footed the bill, yet she never uttered a single thank you. Seeing I wasn't responding, Sarah immediately turned on the waterworks, looking around at all their relatives like a victim. Aunts, uncles, please tell me, what did I do wrong? She sobbed. She's my mother-in-law and the kid's grandma. The economy is terrible right now. Our paychecks barely cover __ and life is so hard. She has her pension, her social security and savings. Helping out our little family is what any normal parent would do. She wiped a tear, but she acts like we're bleeding her dry. If her son was actually successful, would I even need to ask her for a dime? I work all day, take care of 2 kids, and nurse my husband when he's sick. I came into the Smith family all alone. You're all blood, and I'm just an outsider. Is it easy being me? She burst into dramatic tears. The 2 boys, seeing their mom cry, started wailing too, and right on cue, the dining room door swung open and my son Luke walked in. Seeing his wife and kids bawling, his face turned dark. Immediately, babe, who the hell is bullying you? Luke, you're finally here. Sarah lunged into his arms like she had found her savior, crying even louder. Luke glared at everyone in the room. Rubbing his wife's back, he roared, who? They _ is messing with my wife? The relatives exchanged awkward glances. I spoke up. Nobody is bullying your wife. Mom, stay out of this. When Sarah married me, I promised her a family would never treat her like _ nor are you trying to make me a liar? I sighed. My son was a good kid, but he was a massive _ nor. He thought with his dick and let his wife run absolute roughshod over him. Uncle Dave, Luke aggressively turned to my brother. Was it you? Hey, don't pin this _ on me, Luke. Uncle. Dave held his hands up. I haven't said a damn word. Then who was it? Admit it. Luke yelled. Enough, I said firmly. Everyone in this room is your elder. Stop barking like a mad dog. If you want someone to blame, I'm the one who bullied your wife. Mom, can you just drop it? I'm not dropping anything. Ask her yourself. Luke frowned, pulling his wife aside to whisper. When Sarah fed him her twisted version of events, he was so pissed he grabbed a water glass and smashed it on the floor. Mom, how could you say that _ to her in public? You broke her heart. How am I suppose to deal with being stuck in. The middle, I gave the two of them a cold, blank stare. Don't worry, I'll make it very easy for you. I'm moving out tonight. She won't ever have to look at my face again. I thought my son would beg me to reconsider. Instead, he thought about it for a second and nodded. You know what, Mom? Maybe that's for the best. You two clearly need some space so we don't end up having World War III. Come on, babe, let's go. Luke grabbed his wife's hand and pulled their two sons out of the dining room. Before he walked out the door, he had the sheer under audacity to turn around and say, Mom, don't forget about the travel, baseball fees. Make sure the money is in my wife's cell by Sunday afternoon at the latest. I actually laughed out loud. My siblings tried to comfort me, telling me they were just young and stupid, and that they'd grow up eventually. That night when I packed my bags, I opened the jewelry box and took the Cartier bracelet I bought for Sarah. The next day, I called a real estate agent and listed the house for an urgent sale. I only had one demand. It had to be fast, preferably gone by the weekend. The agent warned me that selling in a rush meant buyers would lowball me. I gave him a crisp answer. I don't give a __. If I take a loss, sell it. The agent, a sharp guy named Marcus, who had helped me buy the property 5 years ago, blinked at my bluntness. He knew the market, and more importantly, he knew an investor group that devoured suburban properties for straight cash. Martha, you're leaving at least 50 grand on the table if we do a quick cash close, Marcus warned, his pen hovering over the listing agreement. If we stage it, wait for the spring market. Marcus, I said, leaning over his polished mahogany desk, looking him dead in the eye. My peace of mind is worth a hell of a lot more than 50 grand. I want my name off that deed by Friday. Make it happen. He studied my face for a long second, recognizing the absolute frozen resolve in my expression. He didn't ask questions. He just nodded, picked up his phone, and made a call. By Thursday afternoon, the paperwork was signed. An LLC property management group bought the house at a 15% discount for a 7-day cash close. Since there was no formal lease agreement between me and my son, they were merely month-to-month tenants at will. The new owners were perfectly within their rights to issue a standard 30-day notice to vacate upon taking possession. While the escrow company pushed the paperwork through, I went on a scorched earth administrative spree. First, the bank. I walked into the local branch and sat down with the personal banker. I removed my name as the guarantor on Luke's secondary credit card. Then I closed the joint emergency checking account I had set up for them, transferring the $15,000 balance, my money, which Sarah regularly dipped into for groceries that suspiciously coincided with her trips to Sephora, back into my primary private account. Next was the family cell phone plan. I marched into the Verizon store, split my line off, and canceled the payments for their 3 flagship iPhones and 2 Apple Watches. The rep asked if I wanted to notify the other lines. Nope, I said, cheerfully. They'll figure it out when the service drops. Finally, I drove to a high-end estate jeweler downtown. The appraiser examined the vintage Cartier gold bracelet under a loop, the one I had bought Sarah for her upcoming birthday. It's a beautiful piece, very well kept, the jeweler said. I can offer you 8,000 cash right now. Deal, I said, without missing a beat, when I walked out of that shop with a thick envelope of crisp $100 bills. I didn't feel an ounce of the guilt that used to plague me whenever I told my son no. I felt lighter. I felt like I had just surgically removed a malignant tumor that had been draining my lifeblood for 7 years. I checked myself into a luxury suite at the Ritz-Carlton downtown. I ordered room service, poured a glass of perfectly chilled Chardonnay, and silenced my phone. Friday passed quietly. Saturday arrived. According to Sarah's strict entitled orders, I was supposed to be at the house scrubbing the baseboards and hunting for imaginary cockroaches while they were screaming on roller coasters at Six Flags. Instead, I was in a plush bathrobe getting a hot stone massage at the hotel spa. At 2:00 p.m., my phone, now resting on the vanity, lit up. It was a text from Sarah, just checking if the kitchen is done. Make sure you use the eco-friendly bleach under the sink. And you forgot to sell the baseball money. Do it now, the coach is asking. I read the text, laughed softly to myself, and swiped left. Delete. 3 hours later, another text, this time from Luke. Mom, Sarah, says you haven't sent the $800 for the baseball fees. Come on, don't be petty about the other night. Just send it. We're at the park and her card just got declined at the gift shop. Did you do something to the joint account? I took a sip of my cucumber water, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. I decided to give him a taste of his own medicine. I'm sure you'll figure it out. You're the man of the house, right? Be a provider. I turned the phone off completely. Sunday evening, the storm finally made landfall. I was sitting by the hotel window watching the city lights flicker to life when I decided to turn my phone back on. It immediately vibrated violently in my hand. 14 missed calls from Luke, 8 from Sarah, 26 frantic text messages. MOM, where are you? MOM, why is there a lockbox on the front door? Martha, answer the phone right now. There's a man in a suit here telling us we have 30 days to get out. What the underscore did you do? Right on cue, the phone started ringing. In my hand, Luke. I answered, my voice steady, cold, and utterly detached. Hello, Luke. Mom, he screamed into the receiver. His voice was shrill, cracking with panic. Where the hell are you? We just got home, exhausted. The kids are crying, and there's a notice taped to the front door from some property group. The guy is still in the driveway. He says you sold the house. Tell me this is a sick joke. It's not a joke, I replied smoothly. The transaction closed on Friday. The deed has been transferred. You no longer live in my house. You live in a house owned by Apex Holdings LLC. I suggest you read the 30-day notice carefully. Are you out of your underscore mind? Luke roared. I could hear Sarah shrieking hysterically in the background. You sold her house over a stupid argument at Thinner? Correction, Luke. I sold my house. The house I put the down payment on. The house whose mortgage I pay every single month. The house whose property taxes I cover so you and your wife can play pretend at being successful adults. I kept my tone dead calm, which only seemed to enrage him more. And it wasn't a stupid argument. Your wife humiliated me in front of our entire family over a $100 tip, called me a deadbeat and threatened me. You then stood by, let her lie to your face, demanded I pay your children's sports fees, and agreed that moving out was for the best. So I moved out permanently. We have nowhere to go, Mom, he pleaded, his anger suddenly giving way to desperation. We can't afford rent on a place this size. You know that. The market is insane. You're making your own grandkids homeless. Your kids have two able-bodied working parents, I said sharply. If you can't afford a 4-bedroom luxury home in the suburbs, then you'll do what every other adult in the world does. You'll downsize, rent a 2-bedroom apartment, stop buying premium Botox and start buying generic groceries. Welcome to the real world, son. Martha, you malicious, crazy old bitch. Sarah's voice suddenly screeched into the phone. She had clearly snatched it from Luke. You can't do this. This is my children's home. I have rights. I'm calling a lawyer. Go right ahead. Sarah, I chuckled. Tell your lawyer that you were living rent-free in a property solely deeded in your mother-in-law's name without a lease. See how far that gets you. Oh, and before I hang up, I should let you know I canceled the joint account and the phone plans. Your service will be cut off by midnight. I'd use the Wi-Fi to find a moving company if I were you. I will ruin you, Sarah screamed, her voice completely unhinged, stripping away any lingering trace of the sweet, loving mother she pretended to be. You hear me? I will never let you see those boys again. Considering you view me as an unpaid maid and an ATM, I think I'll survive the separation, I said. Goodbye, Sarah. Have a nice life. I hung up, blocked both of their numbers, and tossed the phone onto the bed. The following weeks were a masterclass in watching a house of cards collapse. Because I had blocked them, Luke and Sarah resorted to calling my brother, Dave, and my sister, Helen. Dave was the one who kept me updated, calling me every few days while I was busy finalizing the purchase of a beautiful, low-maintenance condo overlooking the marina. Martha, you have absolutely nuked their reality, Dave said over the phone one Tuesday, sounding a mix of horrified and deeply amused. Luke called me crying yesterday. Apparently, Sarah's Pilates studio membership bounced and she threw a massive tantrum. In the lobby, her credit cards are maxed out. How are they handling the move? I asked, sipping my morning coffee. Badly, Dave snorted. They tried to find a rental in the same neighborhood so the kids wouldn't have to change schools. But without your income propping them up, Luke's salary doesn't even meet the 3x rent requirement for those houses. They got rejected by 4 different landlords. Sarah is refusing to look at apartments. She told Luke that living in a complex is for peasants and threatened to take the kids to her sister's house in Ohio. Let her, I said coldly. Luke chose his bed. He can lie in it. By week 3 of their 30-day notice, the reality of their financial ruin had fully set in. Sarah's facade as the perfectly put together suburban queen was crumbling fast. She had always relied on my bank account to fund her manicures, her esthetician appointments, and her expensive brunches with the neighborhood wives. Now she was forced to confront the fact that Luke's middle management salary barely covered their luxury car leases and the basic necessities. Desperation makes people do ugly things, and Sarah was a profoundly ugly person on the inside. One afternoon, I received a call from the bank. Miss Smith, we're calling from the fraud prevention department. We just received an application for a personal loan of $25,000 in your name, but the IP, address, and the phone number listed flagged our system. We wanted to verify if you initiated this. My blood ran cold, then boiled. No, I did not. Cancel that application immediately. Do. You have the phone number that was provided? The agent read off the number. It was Sarah's. I didn't just tell the bank to flag it. I drove straight to the local police precinct and filed a report for attempted identity theft. I handed the officer the fraud alert details and Sarah's contact information. I wasn't playing games anymore. If she wanted to treat me like an enemy, I would fight like one. 2 days later, all hell broke loose. I was at Dave's house having a quiet Friday night dinner with him and his wife when there was a frantic, aggressive pounding on the front door. Dave frowned, setting down his fork. Who the hell was that? He opened the door and Luke barged in looking like a madman. He was thinner, his eyes heavily bagged, his clothes rumpled. He looked like he hadn't slept in a week. Behind him was Sarah, her face splotchy and devoid of makeup, her hair tied in a messy, greasy knot. The flawless skin I had been paying for was breaking out in stress hives. Luke, what the hell are you doing? Dave demanded, stepping in front of him. Where is she? Luke yelled, pushing past his uncle and spotting me at the dining table. I didn't stand up. I just dabbed my mouth with a napkin and looked at him. You're interrupting my dinner, Luke. You called the __ cops on my wife, he screamed, his face turning purple. 2 detectives showed up at the house today while we were packing. They questioned her about a bank loan. Are you trying to send the mother of your grandchildren to prison? She committed a felony, Luke, I said calmly. She tried to take out a $25,000 loan in my name. Did you honestly think I was just going to let that slide? Luke whipped his head around to stare at Sarah. What? You told me it was a misunderstanding. You told me she was trying to sue you for the house damages. Sarah shrank back slightly, her eyes darting around like a trapped rat. She owes us, Sarah shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at me. She ruined our lives. She made us homeless. I just needed money for the deposit on a town home. It's family money. She has hundreds of thousands in the bank. She wouldn't have even missed it. Dave let out a loud, incredulous laugh. Family money? Are you insane, woman? That's Martha's retirement fund. You lied to me, Luke asked, his voice suddenly dropping an octave. He stared at his wife as if he was seeing a stranger. You tried to steal her identity? Sarah, we could lose the kids if you go to jail. Well, what was I supposed to do, Luke? Sarah exploded, turning her rage onto him. The mask completely shattered. The sweet, victimized daughter-in-law act she put on at the family dinner was gone. This was the real Sarah, venomous, entitled, and vicious. You can't provide for __ you make pennies. I married you because your family had money, because your mother promised we would be taken care of. Now she cut us off, and we are moving into a disgusting, cramped, 3-bedroom apartment next to a highway. I haven't had my hair done in a month. My friends are laughing at me. The room fell into a deathly silence, mirroring the silence of that fateful Sunday dinner. But this time it wasn't me being humiliated. It was Luke. Luke stood frozen, the color draining entirely from his face. You married me for my mom's money. Oh, grow up. Luke, Sarah sneered, pacing the living room like a caged animal. Look at you. You're soft. You let everyone walk all over you. Do you think I would have stayed home and played house with you if I knew I'd end up poor? I gave you 2 kids. I sacrificed my body. I deserve the lifestyle I was promised. I watched my son's heartbreak in real time. For years, I had held my tongue, hoping Luke would wake up, hoping Sarah would mature. I had funded their illusion because I wanted him to be happy, but in doing so, I had masked the ugly truth of his marriage. Get out, Luke whispered. Sarah stopped pacing. What? Get the underscore on her out of here. Luke roared, his voice shaking the windows. Tears were streaming down his face. Give me the keys to the SUV. Take an Uber. Go to your sister's. Go wherever the hell you want, but do not come back to the house tonight. Sarah sneered, grabbing her purse. Gladly. Have fun living in poverty, you pathetic loser. She shot me a venomous glare. I hope you rot, Martha. She slammed the front door so hard the pictures on Dave's wall rattled. Luke collapsed onto the living room sofa, putting his head in his hands, and began to sob uncontrollably. It wasn't the angry, aggressive crying of a cornered mom. It was the deep, agonizing weeping of a boy who realized his entire life was a lie. Dave sighed, walking over and patting his nephew on the shoulder. I remained seated at the table. I didn't rush over to coddle him. I didn't pull out my checkbook to fix it. I let him feel the full weight of the wreckage. Eventually, the crying subsided. Luke looked up at me, his eyes bloodshot. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was blind. I let her treat you like garbage because I was terrified of her leaving me. I was a coward. Yes, I said quietly. You were. He flinched, probably expecting me to soften the blow, but I was done cushioning his falls. I gave you everything, Luke, I said, my voice steady but heavy with years of exhaustion. I sacrificed my own life, my own travels, my own peace to baby, sit your children, and fund your wife's delusions of grandeur. And the moment she decided to use me as a punching bag, you threw me to the wolves. You asked me to pay her to be a decent person. No, he choked out. I was wrong. I'm going to divorce her, Mom. I'm going to take the boys. I don't know how I'm going to afford lawyers or where I'm going to live, but I can't do this anymore. He looked at me, a silent, desperate plea in his eyes. He wanted me to offer my home. He wanted me to say I would fund the legal battle. I looked at my son, whom I loved more than anything in the world, and gave him the hardest gift a mother can give: consequence. I recommend you find a good pro bono lawyer, I said smoothly, standing up and picking up my purse, and start looking for a second job. Dave, dinner was lovely. Thank you for having me. Luke stared at me in shock as I walked toward the door. Mom, you're not going to help me? I paused at the threshold, looking back at him. I did help you. Luke, I ripped the Band-Aid off. The rest is on you. You're a father now. It's time to grow up and protect your own kids. I walked out to my car, the cool evening, breeze kissing my face. I got in, started the engine, and drove away without looking in the rearview mirror. 2 years later, the Mediterranean sun was intensely bright, reflecting off the azure waters of the Amalfi Coast. I adjusted my oversized Tom Ford sunglasses, paid for with my own hard-earned money, and took another sip of my Aperol Spritz. Martha, you have to try this calamari. It's absolutely divine. My friend Susan gushed, pointing at a plate the waiter had just set down. I'm pacing myself, Susan. We have that private wine tasting in an hour. I laughed, leaning back in my plush chair on the yacht's deck. Life had changed drastically in the last 2 years. After I cut the financial cord, the fallout back home was messy, spectacular, and completely out of my hands. Sarah's attempted identity theft had forced her into a corner. Facing a potential felony charge, she made a plea deal that required a massive amount of community service and probation. The criminal record effectively ended her days of pretending to be high society. She and Luke went through a bitter, scorched earth divorce. Without my money to fight for, Sarah quickly lost interest in custody. She realized that being a single mother of 2 energetic boys without a nanny or an endless budget was actual work. She settled for every other weekend visitation, desperately trying to lock down a new, rich husband, though her fading looks and volatile personality made it a tough sell. Last I heard from my sister Helen, Sarah was working as a receptionist at a low-end dental clinic, driving a 10-year-old Honda and living in a cramped studio apartment. Luke had to learn the hard way. He moved into a modest 2-bedroom apartment. For the first 6 months, it was hell for him. He worked his day job, drove Uber on the weekends, and learned how to actually parent his sons without dumping them on me. It was brutal, exhausting work, but it saved him. He lost the softness, both physically and mentally. He learned how to budget, how to cook, and how to stand up for himself. He called me every Sunday, not to ask for money, but just to talk. It took a year of him proving he had changed before I agreed to see him and the boys again. I didn't step in as a babysitter. I stepped in as a grandmother. I took the boys to the park, bought them ice cream, and handed them back to their father at the end of the day. My money stayed strictly in my accounts. I traveled. I joined a luxury book club. I renovated my condo. I finally lived the life I had deferred for decades. My phone buzzed on the glass table. It was a text from Luke, accompanied by a photo. It was a picture of him and my 2 grandsons smiling in front of a modest but clean townhouse. Just closed on the new place, Mom. First-time home buyer. It's small, but it's ours. The boys are excited. Wish you were here. Enjoy Italy. I smiled, a genuine, warm smile that reached my eyes. He had finally become the man I always hoped he would be. I typed back, "So proud of you, Luke." By the boys, a pizza to celebrate. See when I get back. I set the phone face down, closed my eyes, and let the warm Italian sun wash over me. The ocean breeze carried the scent of salt and lemon. For the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight. I was completely, blissfully free.